they also have a 6 mile.
Technically, you guys are part of their council. Because if you accept this, that's 6 mile and that's west first, so that means there's gonna be a conflict of interest between the two cities. And their council runs it, it's not another body out there, so
That's a good point.
I think that they should.
So in those situations, it's a meet in the middle type of deal. So basically, you measure the distance between municipalities, and it's a meet in the middle.
Because they couldn't, we can't control them and they can't control us.
Right.
I mean, they're two separate entities, so
So that's
it
what
would
versus
be,
6
yeah.
mile.
And I did read somewhere when I was reading up on this that cities can't infringe on other cities. You know,
So-
they can't.
So keeping 6 mile would be,
Meet in the middle, 3 miles each
Infringement.
way, I'm assuming, or thereabouts. I don't know how far it is to west.
Well, that would be part of the final.
Yeah,
put
and that's
together
something
plan.
to write, to mark down, and I agree with Kathy, I like the idea of having business owners on it, even if they don't live in the city. But I wouldn't be, like, if I lived outside the city and I wanted to be on it, I don't think I would if I didn't have vested interest within the city of Oakridge.
That's not exactly what I said, but
Oh, okay, I mean, but I'm just saying, I wouldn't do it.
I think everyone,
So-
if you're gonna do that, everyone should have that opportunity that strikes that kind of inequality. To be able to say, well, if you own property, you can do it, but if you don't own property, you can't, even though your kids may go here, you may
That's
shop
true.
here, and you may do things, so we would have to strike a balance with that.
Yeah.
But I think this is definitely something we need to continue to have a discussion on,
Yeah.
and keep on the radar, and whatever we're gonna call it, list, so that we can continue to look at it and then actually solidify something, so that we don't have this open, people from, Portland come join our planning commission, because legally you can.
So we don't have a 6 mile radius right now?
We don't have an agreement with the county, so that means
Okay.
we don't have jurisdiction over permits or applications. Like,
Okay.
Dennis Patterson, 47871 West First Street. I recall sitting in the audience in front of the planning commission a few years ago, where somebody that had property on just outside the city limits asked to be annexed to the city of Oakridge because it's easier to get permits out of the city than it is out of the county. So, yeah, an
You're
agreement with the county would be a
absolutely
great idea.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
But it's awesome. Awesome.
Okay, any other discussion? Okay, let's move on to the next. 6.6. Okay, 6.6 still?
Yes, Mayor and Council, the City of Oakridge issued requests for proposals for city attorney legal services on September 26, 2018. 4 law firms responded to the city's requests: Leahy Cox from Springfield, the local government law group from Eugene, Thorpe, Purdy, Jewett, and Kinson, Springfield, and Blue West Cobb. Members of the evaluation committee were Mayor Rowland, Councilors Barry Carl, and Councilor Kevin Goldman, and myself. This is the packet from the 4 firms that we had to plow through for a short period of time. Mayor Rowland, Councilor Goldman, and myself recommend that the City Council invite representatives from 2 firms, Leahy Cox and Local Government Law Group, to make presentations to the City Council. Leahy Cox, until recently, was the firm for the City of Springfield, I believe, and it's in my notes, for about 60 years, until some of their attorneys are now working for the city. And Local Government Law Group is the city's current law firm, and they are also exclusive to municipals and public law. The committee we suggest that council invite 2 firms to council meeting and for presentations. It's probably a good time. You'll have basically a brand new council, or at least 5 new members of council in January. So if council so desires, we could ask the firms to come probably on the January 17th meeting, make presentations to the new council, and let the new council select the attorneys that they wish to work with.
So, is that all right with you if we do that and have them come on the 17th of January?
You asking me?
Yes,
Oh,
since you'll be the mayor, yeah.
well, I thought there was a motion involved here, so
There
it's
is
not
one,
my
so-
choice.
It's a motion to invite them to come and
On that day.
on that day.
You're given your first option to accept or change the date.
Thanks, Kevin. I appreciate that. You know, I'm glad it boiled down to 2 firms. I'm a little confused as to why we would rehire the people we already have, but I do understand that there are multiple attorneys in those firms, and we can ask to be represented by a different attorney.
And we did contact Ross and ask him if he would be willing to step away from Oakridge, and he said yes.
Okay, so then that in essence makes, we have 2 choices
Yeah.
to look at. So if we make this motion to bring these people here, Phil, and then, we agree, we say yes, and they come, does that tie the council's hands in any way, the new council's hands in any way? They can still consider or move forward with what we've started?
No, what I would envision is council would listen to the 2 firms. If you didn't like either one of them, you could turn to staff and say, do this again. If you liked one of them, you could turn to staff and say, we're instructing you to negotiate a contract with firm X.
Okay, all right, that makes sense to me, thank you.
Barry?
Since I was on the selecting committee and I disagreed with everybody else, I'd just like to have my say and tell you all why I disagreed with everybody else on the committee. And I guess I would start with the fact that at the last meeting, James Affa made a motion to terminate Ross Williamson's firm, whatever the name of that firm is, and hire an interim attorney until we could go through the RFPs. Y'all remember that?
Right.
Yeah? And that was short-circuited by City Administrator Gomez, who said, we have RFPs in hand and we can hire a new attorney imminently.
Right.
A new attorney.
Right.
Not consider the old attorney, a new attorney, because James' motion was to terminate, if y'all remember. And, I remember because I was here, I was sitting right next to him. And James withdrew his motion to terminate Ross Williamson and go with the RFPs of the new attorney, never expecting or suspecting that one of the new attorneys would be Ross Williamson. He didn't want Ross Williamson. And we could have voted at that meeting to terminate Ross Williamson, and we didn't do that because of what our city administrator Gomez told us.
And at the meeting before, you tried to terminate him, and it was voted 4-3 not to. The first
What does that have to do with the price of apples in China, Mayor?
I'm just saying that you tried it and it didn't work.
I
So
tried what?
2 weeks,
There was,
two-
well, whether it would have worked or wouldn't have worked, we'll never know because it never came to a vote.
yes,
I think, no, it didn't.
on yours, it did.
Not on James, though.
Not on James' motion, it did not. And I said to James, last time we tried this, I was talking to him, I said, the last time we tried this, it didn't work. He said, tonight I think it will. And what he needed was 4 votes. Now, I don't know if he talked to Paul Forkham. He didn't talk to me, but he knew how I would vote. And he didn't talk to Kathy Nichols, but he knew how she would vote, and he knew how he would vote. So he knew he had 3 votes in his pocket, and he was hoping for the 4th. And we'll never know, because I'm not going to ask Paul. But the fact is, he withdrew his motion based upon the assumption that the Williamson firm was gone. And now here it comes and resurfaces again. So, you know, I respect that the committee went through a selection process and they added up the points and they had this and they had that. But you cast aside Luvas Cobb, which is probably the best law firm in the county, one of the best law firms in the state. And because they, I don't know what the reasoning was, but y'all, the selection committee thought they weren't good enough. And Thorpe Purdy, who I also favored, has a member of their firm who has a house here in Oakridge. You all know that? So a member of the firm, a senior member of the firm, has property here in Oakridge. Do you think he's interested in what goes on in this community? That was never discussed, it was never considered, and now we have the two bottom firms, one of which shouldn't even be in the running. And we're inviting them to come here and talk to us. Big mistake.
Okay.
I'm not done, please, please. It's a big mistake to invite them to come here and talk to us. We should go to them. Why? Because to see what their offices are like, see what their library is like, see what their computer system's like, see what their staff is like. Are they operating out of their garage? Or are they operating out of real offices? Go to them. And does the whole council have to go? No. 3 or 4 members of the new council, not the old council, and every single one of the recommendations that are being made tonight are coming from people who are not going to be here 3 weeks from now, except for the interim administrator, Messina, who I don't believe knew any of the history of what went on and certainly didn't understand what James' motion was at the last meeting. So I think it's disrespectful to James. I think it's duplicitous, actually. When you, Kevin, you knew, and Judy, you knew what Councilman Affa's intention was at the last meeting, and then turn around and say, well, Gary, you seconded his motion to pull the motion. Yeah, based on the assumption that we were going to get a new attorney. Not that we were going to get the same old rerun of the same old attorney. I never would have done it. So here we are, voting on or considering whether we should bring attorneys here instead of us going to them, first mistake. And second of all, we're considering bringing attorneys here who I think are at the bottom of the pile, not at the top of the pile. And I say that after 15 years of practicing law in the community and being a judge in the community. I know these people. I know who they are, and you're making a mistake, in my opinion. That's all.
So Gary, did you score the firms based on the RFP requirements?
No, I didn't. I scored them based on what I knew of them. Do you know them? Do you know any of the attorneys?
I only know what was in the RFP package.
Right.
And you told us you didn't score them.
That's what he said.
He just said that.
Yeah.
I just said that. Because I know them. I mean, I could go through and put numbers down, but was there a spot there to consider whether one of the attorneys lived in our community?
No.
Did you know that? Did you know what? You don't care that one of the attorneys?
criteria.
You don't care that one of the attorneys lives in your community? That's not important to you?
That's not
Okay,
part of
right.
the criteria.
That's not your criteria, okay.
I didn't say
I think the
mine.
new
I just
council,
said that with-
council ought to make a decision on that, a new day, a new way. They ought to reconsider the whole thing, that's what I think. And I don't think we ought to bring them here, I think we ought to go to them, not we, you all, whoever's gonna make the
Well,
decision,
only
go to
3
them.
can go.
What's that?
Only 3 can go. Otherwise you have a quorum.
Everyone can go at different times.
Can I say something?
Excuse me.
Kathy?
While I appreciate this argument that's going on, because it helps us think of other things that perhaps we didn't consider, you know, and this is kind of a little bit of a sensitive thing, because Mr. Affa has passed away, and yes, indeed, that motion that he made didn't go forward but that's all in the past. We're looking at a new attorney, we're looking at replacing our attorney. We have an obligation to continue forward with this process, and it may be that the best thing for us to do is to table it and then bring it back up to light. Although we have asked for an RFP, and firms have made the effort to respond to that RFP. And that's something that we should not take lightly, because it frankly reflects poorly upon us. So us, I see no problem with that. I'm the customer, they are the service provider, I want them to come to me. I don't really care what kind of computer system they use, I don't really care what their coffee room looks like. I really do care, however, how they present themselves when they come to me. And it may be at that point that we decide that we fold it all in and start over again. And that's an option that the new council has. But I don't believe we need to just stop the process. We do need to move forward. It speaks poorly of us if we can't. It speaks poorly of our community, and that's just my
So
opinion.
we need to complete this RFP. Part of that is
To do
this
this.
motion.
Yes.
Do we have a motion on the slate? We haven't made a motion yet, right?
No.
So I move that we invite representatives from Leahy Cox and local government law group to attend the January 17th, 2019 council meeting to give presentations on their ability to provide legal services to the city.
Second that motion.
Okay, it's moved and seconded. Any more discussion?
I'd like to recognize Mr. Hadley, who's gonna be on the council next month.
I spent all day today with legal organizations going through this meeting, and there's so many things been done wrong with this council that's up here. And after listen all day, and I spent, 8 hours, Bobby did, Stephen did, a lot of us did. Why is this big rush to do this right now? Why can't you table it and let us as councilors do what you guys haven't done and try to run the city properly?
Councilor McMillan,
Aye.
Councilor Holston,
Aye.
Councilor Gobelman,
Bye.
Councilor Carl,
Nay.
Mayor Rowland,
Aye.
Councilor Borka,
Motion passes. So they'll be invited to come on the 17th of January's meeting. This is a (7.2) fee waiver. What's 7.1? I'm sorry. Oh, yes, monthly well report. Sorry.
Mayor and council, as requested by council, public works staff is monitoring the wells and the issue points of drinking water system in an effort to monitor the contaminant known as tetrachloroethylene or TCE. Well number 4 has consistently shown a low level of TCE. Admin, public works, administration, public works staff are working with the city engineer of record in regards to how to minimize this contaminant. Currently, we're exploring options such as the possibility of removing well number 4 from the system. That would have some pretty lasting side effects, and we are looking into the aspects of that.
Of removing well number, closing down well number 4, did you say?
That's some of the things we're looking at, and that doesn't mean that we are going that direction. It's just some of the things.
And that's the one that only gets like 150 gallons or whatever.
That is our lowest. Yeah, it
Okay.
produces the lowest gallon per hour.
Number 4 is?
Number 4 is
It's like
150 gallons per
150
hour.
some gallons.
Per minute, sorry.
I'm not gonna take it on. We're just, he's just giving a report. That's all. Is there any questions from the council on it?
I was just wondering, you've got the fiscal impact here, so that's how much it costs a month to test all 4?
That's all 4 wells and the entry point tests. Yes, they're $250 each.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, 7.2, it is a fee waiver request for the bus fare at Greenwater Park in June 2019. I know I've heard rumblings about why is it 6 months down the line that we're doing this instead of doing it now. And part of the reason is all this takes time to do. I mean, they have so many applications that they have to get, they have to contact all the people, invite them and everything else. So yeah, it does take